So I saw a guy post this morning about Three Eye Atlas, and I guess he's been saying this for a while now that it's absolutely a spacecraft. And if you don't believe that, he doesn't know what to tell you. You know, you're out of the loop. And then I saw someone else talking about timeline shifts, timeline jumps, and how this happened, and trying to explain what a timeline jump is. I'm just thinking to myself, man, all this information out here, a lot of people, they believe what they believe. They truly do. And if you look back at my post, same thing, but I think there's an evolution that happens. And it happens with all of us. We get to a certain point where we've decided we're not going to play into the matrix anymore. And then you go across your evolutionary journey, your awakening. And I think we all hit the same kind of points along the way, as we evolve. And that's what I'm witnessing right now. Tomorrow's a full moon, and this is a pretty intense full moon. It's the last one of the year. They call it the cold moon, the super moon, and there's also a lot of planetary activity going on as well as solar activity. So what's this post about, right? Well, this post about all of it, honestly, and kind of a continuation of what I said yesterday, how I'm just kind of in the pocket, observing everything, and just trying to take in what people are saying, actually even experiencing their own personal journeys, which is kind of cool, seeing where everyone is, gauging where everyone is, and noticing that, absolutely, someone commented about this, everyone is at a different part of their journey at different times, so there's no way that we could all line up, it's all scattered, it's all over the place. But there was a thought that I had, and the thought was about how hard it must be for us to hold the light so long that a majority of people can elevate their frequencies and awaken. And when I started thinking about that, something drew me back to the younger generation. I started thinking about the younger generation because it seems like to me, the older people my age, maybe the Gen Xers, from maybe, let's talk mid-30s and up. Let's just kind of categorize it that way. People in general, usually just in their life experience alone, have enough experience to know certain things are worth spending their time on and certain things are just a waste of their time. And I think just that personal growth of being just a human being, once you get to that age, around 30s or so, you start realizing what's valuable and what isn't. And the point about what I'm saying now is that the people below that, younger than that, those are the ones I'm worried about. Because I really feel that those younger generations, 20s and younger, I mean, think about it. If you were born, let's say 25, 26 years ago, you were born into 9/11, and everything from there all the way till now has not been very joyful, right? They haven't had the life that many of us who are over that age, me, 60s, seen so much, had a lot of joy, saw America, saw life, saw the world through a different lens. It was a little bit more innocent, or at least it seemed that way. And now it's, everything's just getting packed into, it's like processed and packed into this small little dense ball of social anxiety that these younger generations are dealing with. And I believe it has a lot to do with this, with social media, of course. They've been exposed to way more than we were at younger ages. And it's not only frightening, but it's scary. And Australia just announced that they are going to make it so people under 16 years old do not have access to social media. What do you think about that? When Jen's daughters were growing up and I was living, I started living with her just over 10 years ago, and I think the girls were like 12 and 10. Once they got to the point where they were asking about cell phones, which was probably about 14 or 15, we had a rule, which was they couldn't take those cell phones into their bedrooms when they went to sleep, because we knew. We knew. And 10 years later, it's worse than we ever could have imagined. Yeah, the girls are into the cell phones, and yeah, they are part of that 3D slime. They got slimed. And it's hard for anyone of that upbringing to just stop doing something that they had exposure to, access to, at a very, very young age. It becomes part of their nature. But I think that's part of the problem. And even though, we talk about rights and things like that, what do you think? I actually think it's a good idea, because just look what's out here. Look what the OnlyFans and all this stuff, all this misleading information, and all the focus on glam, on the way you look, and popularity and things like that. My point is that I'm concerned about that generation, the under 30s, because of what they've been exposed to and how much they've been exposed to it. And as I think about how we're all going to awaken, and by the way, I'm so proud of you guys for holding the light, being the way you are, sincere and authentic, unconditional love, compassion, understanding with boundaries. You're not a simp. I'm really proud of you. And I hope I could say the same thing about these younger people. I think that if I get to the point where I could actually say those words to them, it'll be with more feeling, because what they're dealing with is much more than we've ever been exposed to. Those are the people that I'm concerned about. Those are the people that somehow we have to find a sublime, subtle way of getting them off that media crack and get them onto something a little bit more wholesome, get them back into the moment of living life like many of us did, getting our knees cut and our nails dirty, going out and actually socializing with other people, like really socializing, Some of these people can't even hold a conversation. Telephone? Yeah, forget it. Everything's text. And you know what happens with text? Everything kind of gets misconstrued. The emotions, the feeling kind of gets lost. And you don't really know what someone is really saying just by seeing what they're typing. Kind of rambled on a little bit longer than I expected to, but what I'm saying is that, yep, we're all going through this, and there's a lot of things happening. The full moon is tomorrow. A lot of energy is coming through. Gaia is speaking up. She's starting to pulse out where we're not getting a lot of activity from above, which is kind of odd, which I guess means that maybe Gaia is now getting calibrated to the point where she's starting to feel her own voice. And I'm feeling mine too. I'm worried about the youth. Those are the ones that are going to be the hardest to get across the line. And how are we going to do this? There must be a creative way. There must be a way. But what Australia is doing, I give them kudos. I think that it's a very brave thing to do. And I'm sure a lot of kids on the other side of the world are going to be going through mega withdrawal, and it's going to get ugly there. I wonder how it's going to pan out. I wonder if we're going to do the same. What do you think about that? If you've been here this long, I appreciate you. Have a great day. Tomorrow's the full moon. You know what to do. Ignore all the BS. Stay locked in. Keep your hands in the rack. Stay on the track. Straight ahead. Grow with the flow.